This is what I wrote October 12th of 2017. I thought my answer would be in relationships, seeking attention from attractive others constantly, seeking that approval. I'm addicted to the rush of feeling attractive and wanted by another person. I'm addicted to losing myself in another person's life and adventure. I'm addicted to the whirlwind that infatuation brings. But it's time to start truly investing in myself. Enough with the self-worth seeking. Enough with making the same goddamn mistakes. And it's so dangerous putting my life in the hands of people I hardly know and that have their own shit going on and expecting them to fulfill a void. I've been unhappy, but because I've been letting myself be that way, I have to pour myself into others' lives, people whose friendships I deserve and I give back to. I'm not ready for love. Right now, where I am, I'm not ready to love someone and not lose myself in them. It's time to make a change. I started out with that journal entry because it paints a very realistic picture of what it looks like in the moment. The sobering part of all of this, 3 months after I wrote this entry, I actually did start dating again. Although I sounded very convicted, it wasn't for very long. I didn't even realize it. When somebody had come along next, I kind of forgot all of these realizations that I made. And it wasn't until 2019 I stumbled upon the term sex and love addict. It just sounds cheesy to say I'm a love addict. I had never been addicted to substances before, but I had always been blind to the fact that I could be addicted to relationships. Something my friend had said to me, I thought, oh, this is normal. Young people go through a lot of relationships. He looked at me and was like, Joyce, you use people like batteries, and when they run out of juice, you switch them out for another one. I had always blamed the other person in the relationship and saying they weren't the one, it wasn't a good fit. I realized the common denominator between all of these people was me. If so many relationships haven't worked out, probably not them, it's probably me. And as it came over again and again, I kept thinking of what my friend said to me, and it got to a point where I hit that rock bottom. The reality is, love addicts cannot get better and change until they admit the fact that they're a love addict. And typically that happens when they hit rock bottom, because the root of love addiction and most addictions is an inability to face reality. On one hand, I didn't have a firm grasp of what reality was. On the other hand, I didn't have a firm belief in myself to cope with reality. And so for people who are wondering like, okay, is love addiction actually a real thing? So I'm going to tell you right now, it is not in the DSM-5, which is what psychologists go by. They only reference substance use disorder. If you switch out certain words in the DSM-5, it absolutely applies to love addiction as well, or relationship addiction. I'm going to look off my phone and just read some of these to you that I felt like were really applicable to relationship addiction. So for one, substance is often taken in larger amounts and/or over a longer period than the patient intended. Often what happens when I experience that high of the honeymoon, I would spend so much time with this person. We were in our little cave and then would emerge from time to time. You might say, oh, that's totally normal though. In my mind, I'm like, that should not be normal. That is literally one of the criteria for substance use disorder. So it's when you're losing track of time or losing track of your priorities and suddenly, oh, those priorities don't seem like priorities anymore. That is a huge red flag. A great deal of time is spent in activities necessary to obtain the substance, use the substance, or recover from effects. How much time am I spending pursuing relationships, in relationships, recovering from breakups? How much time are you spending? And is it disproportionate to the other areas of your life? Recurrent substance use resulting in a failure to fulfill major role obligations at work, school, or home. How much of the relationship is keeping you from performing at work? Are you always fighting with your partner? As a result, you can't focus at work. It's totally possible to be a quote unquote functional love addict, it's not impacting your work to a visible or tangible degree. You within yourself know that you're distracted or that you're tired, that you're more irritable. And also, lastly, withdrawal. This for sure is something I experienced. That's why breakups in general can be so intense. But if you suffer from love addiction, that withdrawal is worse, because if you set up healthy boundaries to begin with, it's not going to be as insane as when you're a love addict and you're enmeshed and you think that this emotional high is what love is. The same substance is taken to relieve or avoid withdrawal symptoms. My drug was the honeymoon. So that's why I kept getting into relationships over and over again with different people, because I couldn't handle the intensity of the breakup. So I would constantly get into new relationships to distract myself from the pain. And that's a huge issue, because I realized it stopped being about the individual person, but it became more about their ability to distract me or to fulfill me. According to PM Melody's book, Facing Love Addiction, she defines a love addict as someone who is dependent on, enmeshed with, and compulsively focused on taking care of another person. And then she goes on to say that this is typically described as codependence. Love addicts are typically codependents, but not all codependents are love addicts. You can be in a codependent relationship even if it's not romantic, right? So if it's a mother-son codependent relationship, a friend-friend codependent relationship. She talks about how a co-addicted relationship isn't based on healthy love, but it's based on extreme positive and negative intensity. So the love addicts may experience obsessive and compulsive feelings, along with intense emotions including anger, fear, hate, and lust, and so-called love for the other person. So there you have it, folks. That is the love addict, conceptualized both in the DSM by PM Melody, one of the pioneers of the term, and then also a real life perspective of what it looked like for me. I'll be releasing videos like this every single week. I want to be able to walk with you in your journey, whether you're a love addict or whether you're just pursuing more abundant relationships. In my love addiction early on, I was so desperate to find healthy, but I didn't know what it looked like. I had normalized unhealthy, these toxic cycles in my relationship, because that's what I had seen my entire life. So it helps to see that end picture, be able to focus on that and think to yourself, okay, that's where I'm going. So thanks again for watching. I hope it was useful. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I'll see you next week.